songs.
I know, and as somebody who's about to review a Bo Burnham movie,
Yeah.
I'm like, Jesus Christ, Hannah.
I'm pretty pro Bo Burnham myself. But
Yeah,
I wouldn't
yeah.
listen to his stuff that much.
No, I wouldn't either. But by God, she would. I didn't think she would go up in that list. Because she was, she's like, I'm not that big of a Bo Burnham fan. I'm like, the top 1%. And then now,
That's a lot.
Top half, 0.5%.
That's what I see on everybody's, is like they're the top 0.5.
Yeah. But I think everybody's just fucking insane.
Well, I was on Dance's 0.5, and I saw other people's like 0.5.
I think I might be able to be in Dance's 0.5
Well,
with ours.
Do you think there's just a chance that Spotify's fucking lying?
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because everybody's is 0.5.
Everybody wants
Yeah.
to feel good.
Yeah,
Everybody wants to feel,
nobody could be
you know.
that insane about
Well,
it.
it's either that or you know how many people probably like go to work and just have it playing on a speaker
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
out loud. Like they're not listening
Yeah.
to it with headphones.
My
in
stats
all
right
the
now
time.
is my therapy playlist, so it's gonna be like Florence and the Machine, 5,000
Oh,
listens
God.
or something, and I'm gonna be like, all right,
Well,
paprika.
so you could also imagine, say Spotify gives somebody the song one time
Mhm.
from
Yeah.
this band. They're now a part of that percentage.
That's true.
And if that happens to everybody at some point throughout the,
the
year,
median somewhere.
then
should
if
be
you
wild.
actually listen to a band, you inevitably will be like 5% or above,
Within the
right?
top 5%.
Right,
Yeah.
If you listen to it even twice, compared to like even somebody who just randomly comes across a song, you're already
Yeah.
skewing up.
That's
like,
true.
Yeah.
Because on Shelby's it said that like she had listened to like 476 artists this year, and you think just like your logic, like she could have listened to freaking, I don't know,
Yeah, any
George
band
Strait one time,
Right.
you know, and that's one of the 476.
I know those stats have a crazy X variable way
Yeah.
over here.
Yeah, because I do that a lot, because I go to my Discover playlist
Mhm.
and just listen to stuff there.
Yeah.
Vast majority of it's shit.
I still feel like YouTube Music does a better job, but that's just
Of recommending? No, I'll
At-
say
for- of
Spotify's
recommend-
recommending.
Spotify's recommend has been
Is actually-
great for me.
Actually,
I think
really good.
YouTube's is good particularly for me because it has the entire history of whenever I
Mhm.
first started watching YouTube.
Yeah. Like,
okay,
back
so
in
that would be nice. Where you're like,
06,
what's that
I
one
don't
song?
want that.
No, there's some trash I definitely hear, but then there's definitely like I've literally made a playlist called like one-offs, where I've like randomly heard a song from a band I normally don't listen to, and I'm like, I'll put it into a playlist, and I'll forget which playlist I put it in, and I'll be like, fuck, what was that song or
Yeah.
band? And then I'll be like, oh, this one. So I just
Yeah.
have like a playlist of those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, whenever I first started using YouTube Music, it had like liked songs,
Yeah.
and it was songs that I just happened to like
Mm.
at some point in the
About
like
10
past,
years
you know,
previous.
Yeah.
in the past 15 plus years.
Yeah.
I don't want to listen to something I would have listened
But the
to.
problem is with me,
Same.
a lot of those.
You saying you don't? You
Oh,
don't
okay, I say that, but then half my music is
15
actually-
years ago for me.
Deftones definitely still in
Yeah,
there.
15 years ago was
Chevelle,
like
I
the
still
best
listen
stuff.
to. Well, hold on, 15 years ago. Where does that put me? That's
I was
20.
15.
No, that puts me in 2006.
I was in my prime at 15 with music.
Okay.
Mayday Parade.
I'd been.
Yeah,
I had
no,
gone
that
to
is your
two-
prime. That is your
Miserable
prime.
I had been to two
Best.
Nickelback concerts at that point.
No, we had gone to at least
We'd
one.
gone to one.
Yeah.
Yeah, together.
Unintentionally, but
Yeah.
it was magic.
Oh man.
Saw my first concert boobs there. Saw my last concert boobs there, actually.
Was it Chad Kroger's boobs?
No, it was some very large woman.
Mm.
Oh, by the way, before we get into this review, the actual good friend that she has in this movie.
Olivia.
No, the guy.
Oh,
Uh,
Gabe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the one who does Rick and Morty. Does that not remind you all of Ethan?
From-
Exactly. His mannerisms and everything remind me of Ethan
Which Ethan?
so much.
Which one?
You're Ethan.
My Ethan?
Yeah.
Is Ethan?
You're
So I will say, yeah, that Ethan was kind of like him growing up.
Mm.
Not as like
that. much.
like
Not as
that,
autistic.
that
cringy
kid
kinda
was
thing.
like definitely autistic.
Yeah.
Definitely
Ethan-
spectrum.
Ethan was a little awkward, but he wasn't that like that kid's definitely a little autistic.
Yeah.
I didn't
yeah,
make that
definitely.
connection,
I
but
just
yeah,
like
I guess I could.
I just meant like the mannerisms and stuff.
Yeah,
when I was
yeah,
talking
yeah.
reminded me a lot of him.
Hmm.
Okay, that's the only off-camera thought I had.
Okay.
Oh, don't worry, it'll be
No.
in there.
Yeah. Don't
Yeah.
worry. We never edit this.
We'll link it to Ethan too.
Yeah.
That's whatever.
Ethan has autism. That's the title of this video.
I haven't seen him in years.
It has been a while.
It's been a
Yeah.
minute. It's been a
Mhm.
minute since I saw.
Yeah, ever since we stopped living right beside each other,
Yeah.
don't really get together
Yeah,
for the rock band as much.
and Mason sending me pity invites for the hangouts
I
there.
love those.
He does. He does love
It
those.
makes them feel all warm and fuzzy on the outside.
Yeah. All right, guys. Let's start the show. Clap sync on 3. Damn it! I knew it was coming. Sometimes I think he won't. Sometimes he does it too
I
soon.
don't know why you indulge him.
I don't know
Indulge
either.
me.
I don't know what I do either. Anyway, guys, welcome.
indulging who?
Isn't that the question?
To the F Movie Podcast. This is Bryce. That's Mason. That's Nathan. This is Dylan. Happy holiday season to everybody from the F Movie Podcast. As you can tell, we're in a nice. It looks like pink in the background. It's
It
the
does.
It's a light
Yeah,
one.
it's the pink one.
So-
I think this one's the strongest.
It's a little Valentine-y, if I'm being honest.
This may
Well,
come out around Valentine's
that's
Day.
about right.
And you know what? When I said holiday season, I meant Valentine's Day. I hope you're spending this video watching it with somebody you love, and we're going to talk about a movie that hopefully one of us loves, maybe likes, maybe not. We're talking about 8th grade. 8th grade. I'm not going to set myself up and do a little set spike thing.
You picked this, right?
I did
Yeah,
pick
you
this.
did.
So, 8th grade, in a very summarized version, is the awkward tellings of a 8th grader going through her experience of struggling with social anxieties and everything that comes with the age and cringe culture of all of that stuff. Directed by Bo Burnham. And God, if you've listened to Inside and then you watch this movie, you're like, yeah, this is definitely a Bo Burnham movie. The synthy 80s tech is really there, but let's get into
The
this movie.
synthy thing, for me, it doesn't come from Bo Burnham. It comes more from A24. That's like...
No.
That's what it seems like for me. A
No.
lot of A24 movies I've watched use
They
an
do.
overabundance
They do.
of synth.
I think Midsummer when he says that, but then I don't think none of the other ones really stick out with like that heavy mid. But
Well, like not Neon Demon.
In my mind, it just felt like it was more playing on like the current zeitgeist of that being popular. You know,
Yeah.
made popular by Stranger Things. I feel
Oh,
like
yeah,
that's
Stranger
what
Things
really
did
like
that, yeah, too.
catapulted that sound becoming a part of like media culture.
This movie really should have been out right before Stranger Things, or like right around the same exact time though.
yeah,
Yeah,
but then you
it
think
would have.
it's 2017, so it's,
Movie Pass was popular.
Yeah, it was.
That's when we had to
That's
go
when we
see
saw
it.
it. I saw this one in theaters when it came out.
Love Movie Pass.
and-
I was a third wheel. It was great.
Yeah, you were. Well, it was a good time, but you know, it's interesting though because now I'm thinking about it, I'm intrigued because if it was released 2017, that means it was shooting 2016, and Stranger Things wasn't out by then.
No, it's only 4 seasons long.
Right, so I think it was actually ahead of the curve, if anything, on that one. But it's definitely a mix of A24 stuff. But again, if you've seen, you know, I'm gonna quote Bo Burnham's Insight, not quote it, but kind of just point as a reference for like synthy sounds and stuff like that. That's definitely Bo Burnham's flavor. Even on his stand-ups, he likes to add that in between the piano songs and stuff. But anyway, enough about Bo, because this is a movie about
Bo,
characters
yo.
and stuff.
and about just cringe.
Cringe, nature stuff.
I want to start with the
Man,
very
it
beginning.
opens with some cringe.
That's exactly where I wanted to start because that is what opened this movie on such a sour note for me.
Mm.
I hated that opening so much, and it wasn't because of the cringe. I don't care about that.
Oh, I
It's
do.
the fact that they lingered on it for so long. They thought that they had an Inglourious Bastard style opening where they're like, "This is gonna hit them."
I don't think
where it
that's
matters.
true.
No, they didn't think that.
No,
at
they
all.
didn't think
We're
that.
They
gonna
just
stick
pan
on
in
this
on this poor
song.
girl's like
Yeah.
poor face.
You're
Are
not-
we talking about the scale out intro, right?
I can't.
Yes.
The
Okay.
scale out. It did one or the
Very
other.
slow
Right.
scale
So
out.
Yeah,
her
while she
one
was babbling on.
podcast episode.
But anyway, as
Yeah.
I was saying,
Making sure we know which scene.
You
Yeah,
just
it's
mentioned
the very
this movie and
beginning.
Inglorious
Yeah.
Bastards.
Bastards.
You better tie that.
You better
the
give
hell
this a 10
together.
out of 10 then.
because Inglorious indulges itself on its beginning to great credit because it knows that it's got something amazing to work with here. And this rambling of this girl who just says like and a million times, which I get is obviously a middle schooler thing, but it just keeps going on that. And that's the only thing it does is just like, just reiterate, like, this is what tone you're getting. It's about cringy teenager culture of the culture today because she's doing a YouTube video to like nobody. Yeah, that's us. And
You got it.
You can't hear the tongue-in-cheekness of it all, can you, Bryce?
and it's just her saying like and repeatedly all the time, and that's all it is. There's nothing to dive into there. It does not need the runtime for what that is, and that to me was the rest of the movie. Like, it has these scenes that are so long that do not need to be, where it's just filled with empty noise and not much going on to further emphasize the point of the movie.
So real quick, I know we've both seen it beforehand. Is this your guys' first watch, or
I've
have you seen
seen
it
it.
before? Right.
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
I know you didn't,
makes
and I know
sense.
exactly where you were going to land on it. But I couldn't remember if you had seen it or if you saw a trailer and you were put off by it, because I was just like, Mason, I don't know, this is a teen drama, like, so this is...
And A24.
And I know, I'm like, so there's a good chance you've
Yeah,
seen
you
this.
don't even have to ask.
Right. But, so for our repeat watchers on this one, because I remember thinking I cringed a lot more on my first watch with
Same.
it. But this time, I think I only had one time where it cringed, and I'm trying to think of what it even
The
was.
car.
That wasn't so much cringy as I was just like, please move it on. I don't want this anymore.
The car scene with the guy taking his shirt
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
That was the most like discomfort of the whole movie, but
Yeah,
cringe
the-
is way different.
Discomfort,
like,
right? The cringe definitely comes from like when you're like, oh god, that maybe that was me at one point. I don't know. That's how I take
Pretty much
it. Right?
every scene with Aiden. Pretty much every scene.
Oh my
with,
god, that kid
That was
fucking
that was my favorite part.
Meanwhile-
yeah, is it like Aiden comes by? And it's
Yeah.
like, boom.
No, I meant her talking to Aiden. That was
Oh.
funny.
Oh yeah.
Are you,
yeah.
talking,
But-
wait, are you talking about when they were under the desk
Yeah,
together?
and he's
That
like,
was
"Do you
not
do
funny.
blowjobs?" And then you're just like, I totally do blowjobs.
To answer your question,
No, that was awful to me
yeah.
because like
That's what I'm saying,
she's
it's
conforming
cringy.
to what he wants
Right.
because like she
Because he's
desperately
a
wants a
heartthrob.
boyfriend.
yeah.
It's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
And then she watches the videos at home.
Yeah. I'm gonna.
So is this a slice of life movie?
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is where I
absolutely.
take it. This is
Yeah.
where I take it. So I'll
Yeah.
say as this, with most certainty, the one who enjoyed this movie the most of us four, without ever getting into the scores, is that, unless you guys have some fantastic poker faces, but Nathan's the only one who's been able to trick us so far. Is that-
with a 10?
I know, surprise, bitches, it's perfect. But my thing with this movie is how I connect with this movie a lot with that is that like you either find some of the like content relatable in some way, and it's for me the cringe moments come from being like fuck that's unlocking one of these cringe moments where I was in that ballpark with it. Okay, man, Mason's on
I'm right
board
there
with
with you, buddy.
But then I think there are times where it's like it's uncomfortable, and people think that it's uncomfortable for the sake of being uncomfortable.
Mhm.
Like, so we mentioned the car scene, which I think is the peak not cringe, but most uncomfortable
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah, definitely.
I think you can find cringe in if you've ever like said or been that guy, or not necessarily all the way, because it's not like I don't want to say it's rapey. It's not, but it's definitely like he's an older guy and he's trying to play with the power dynamic, but they're teenagers, so they're kind of like clueless to how kind of fucked up it is.
Yeah.
And I
I
think,
think he is because later he
Yeah.
like turns it back on her.
no,
It's like
right.
I was
Oh,
doing this
yeah.
for you, so
Right.
you would know how to do this stuff when you're older. And she's like, "I'm sorry, you were."
I won't ever tell your
God.
friend.
Don't tell Olivia though, right? And but then you think about it for a sec, and it's that kind of drama moment for me where I'm just like, fuck, dude. For like 5 seconds, you think about that, and then she's like, "Don't tell Olivia," and then he's if you're
Oh,
him,
he's off the hook. Yeah.
yeah, he's like, oh, well, why the fuck would I tell her I was doing this? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. I think I talked with Nathan very briefly. I didn't talk a whole bunch about it while we were rock climbing the other night. And, we were crushing it, climbing all the mountains.
Fucking ripped.
Fucking ripped.
Coming out of our shirt.
Yeah.
Solving every problem.
Every problem and we got our solutions. The problems, as we found out, were not to eat beforehand, and that long sleeves are too hot for climbing. But to the point was that how overall relatable you can find this movie. And Nathan, you said absolutely you were having struggles finding any relatability to this movie. Which fuck me, Mister Get
That-
Laid all the time in
Yeah.
middle school.
In middle school.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, so the thing is, if we're talking relatability, yeah, this did not connect with me.
Mm.
Because I was not this kind of cringe.
Mm.
I was quiet, but I was very much more concerned with, like, playing video games than trying to have any kind of social life
Mm-hmm.
in middle school. Like, high school onwards, things are very different.
Yeah.
But this is trying to be a slice of what middle school was, and I didn't care about people in middle school. I only cared about just hanging out at home and playing games. That was
Fair.
it.
Mm-hmm.
So this just, I only hung out really outside of school with Ethan. That was it. And we just played
Ethan
video
with
games.
autism?
Yeah.
No.
No, we're kidding. We
So-
love
So yeah, this just that's why this doesn't land with me at all,
Mhm.
because I didn't have this moment in my life, I
Mm.
guess.
And I also think that's a big detriment to the movie's quality as a whole, is that if it hinges upon the fact you maybe were like this at some point, I think that's a deterrent to the movie. Like it detracts from it, because just for the fact of the same point I've made previously, where stuff outside of the movie shouldn't impact, like it doesn't impact me personally on how I feel about the movie, and I think like that's all extraneous and has no impact on the movie. What I'm watching is what I'm watching.
But I feel like that's the point of this movie, and that's why it just doesn't hit with me. It's just because it couldn't hit with me, but they definitely had this as their aim. Like, they wanted you to relate to this and think about being in this person's shoes.
They did, but they also have a plot, like, along the way. Like, it.
Right.
They're
They're
little
going to put you
checkpoints
into
along
the
the
shoes
way.
some way or another.
The fatherly figure that she's, has an attitude with. The friends
The
that she
fatherly
doesn't
figure
have.
who's always a little too cool.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Like that, and that's the thing that I also don't necessarily relate with, because, like, I don't think of my parents as being that cool about things.
You guys had
whenever I
dads?
was whenever I was in middle school, so that's another point at which it was not relatable.
I think the thesis of this movie, again, it's playing into your point. It comes from the food court scene with her talking with the older kids.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because I think this movie is more trying to describe what 8th grade is now. And the thesis comes from the food court scene where the boys are one of the boys, the outspoken boy, I guess, was talking about how, like, when were you allowed to have Snapchat? And, like, when were you given a smartphone? She's like, I was in, like, 5th grade when I was allowed Snapchat. And he's like, how in the world do you even comprehend, like, getting Snapchat in 5th grade? And I was thinking, from my perspective, like, that's insane.
The generational differences.
That's, like, the only point at which I actually found this movie interesting, was just as, like, a slice of, like, kids now,
right?
And
Critiquing against
the like living in a world where everybody is glued to their phones at such a young age.
Yeah,
like that does come off as pretty messed up.
Yeah.
This also, I think that was a sign of how naive maybe he was, just because he was a senior. He was supposed to be a senior.
They were all seniors.
And she was coming out of 8th grade, so they were only 4 years apart.
Right.
Yeah, but that's a lot of years.
It is.
And those years,
they're
well, in theory, it should be a lot of years.
Yeah, agreed. You have a lot of growing up to do between those times.
Right.
That's a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
4 years between 18 and 14 is a lot different than 50 and 46.
And I feel like they also, talking about these senior kids, they definitely try to make the women feel much more mature than the men.
100%.
Yeah,
which
is
totally tracks.
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
That's pretty right.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like that was done well and wasn't just like being disparaging.
Yeah. I think
like
about
that. That's exactly like this. So I feel like that's maybe something where it's like those people I can kind of understand and relate to a little bit more.
Sure.
Like the one just like spitballing his own like esoteric thoughts and stuff like that.
Esoteric.
He said
Like that's something where it's just like, I definitely know that kind of person.
Yeah, it's
And
Price,
that
and he's right here.
He's amongst us.
I won't lie.
I would not be surprised.
That kid, I won't lie. Even looking at that kid, I was like, "That's Price."
Yeah,
that's
thinking way smarter than he was at that age.
Yeah,
agreed.
Currently,
So
even
mature.
Hey now, how stupid I am now.
No, so I want to riff off a little bit something you mentioned earlier. Is kind of like what I would kind of call is like the polarization of this movie, right? Where not 100% of it, but I think a majority percent of where your enjoyment or your dislike of this movie is going to be is the relatability behind it, right? And there's effectively there's a theory that says, okay, this may not hit to everybody, but the people who can relate to this are probably going to go on a ride with this, and love or hate, they're going to have an emotional experience with that, which I think is more important. Kind of, and I don't know if that's the fucking intent behind it at all, but that's the impression I got from watching the film. And to that's like credit, as somebody who did find it relatable, and it seems to be batting 50-50 for the most part in this one, so that's not bad odds, I suppose. I do think that there's that little bit of that, but is that the right way to make movies or not? Like, do you appeal strongly to like a small, not even small, if we're saying 50-50, a 50% chance that it appeals to a person, and they're like, oh, I can relate to
I
that.
think that's a
I think it's
perfectly good. Like that's totally valid.
Sure.
Like,
Well-
yeah, absolutely. Make a movie that I don't relate with, but somebody else really clicks with.
Mhm.
That's fine.
I
Go
also,
for it.
I think too, like this movie, like, did anybody enjoy middle school?
No.
Bryce,
Yeah.
like,
No.
would you go back to middle school, elementary school, or high school? In which order?
Oh, I would definitely do the elementary or high school.
But we don't go as
But I
back as our
didn't dislike
confident
it.
selves. We just have to go live it as the
yeah, you have
awkward
to do it basically all
underadult.
over again.
Right. Oh,
Oh yeah, that's when I moved schools to Glasgow and met like all the people I was friends with.
yeah. No, see, I remember thinking with you, I think I had a conversation with you during the movie, or after the movie
Mhm.
afterwards, and thinking like, yes, but how was your middle school experience, Price? And you're like, I was glowing. I had a great time.
My middle school experience is a very weird one because I was in like full honors classes the whole time, and that meant that I was with the same group of people moving from class to class throughout the
Gosh,
day.
you have a little community.
So-
there.
Yeah, it's the honors.
It was not like this introduction into an intermingled like group of people with constant change in cast. No, it was the same group of people in like just moving as though you were in elementary school still. So that's a little stilted.
That's-
and it also again it was like
So-
all honors, so they were all like the super smart ones.
Right.
For Warren East Middle, like we had like 4 elementary schools that funneled in, and they did teams. They did 4 different basically classes, and you knew if you had like 5 good friends from your elementary school, you might get lucky to be in one of those.
One
would
of
be
the
with
teams
you,
with one,
maybe,
yeah. Mhm.
and then so you had to just completely regroup and just like talk to all new people, and then the next year you might be on another team
Mhm.
with another random set of strangers.
And then the gamble just begins again, right?
And then, of
Yeah.
course, high school, it's like, they didn't have that dumb,
team system. Or,
Yeah, I never understood it, but evidently a lot of schools did that.
Gracing.
Yeah, I ended up
I don't
jumping
even think
over
to-
to a junior high,
Mhm.
like halfway through middle school, and they did that system.
Gotcha.
I actually did much better once I was there, like making friends and actually kind of developing more as a person and not just going to school as though it were everything that I'd already been doing. up until
True,
that
or
point.
with the exact same
Yeah.
group.
Also, really quick, your guys' middle school, junior high, whatever terms you were going to use to describe it, which grades were they? Just 7th, 8th, or 6th,
Mine
7th,
was just 7th, 8th.
8th? Okay.
It was 7th, 8th at first, but
Mhm.
then whenever I went to the junior high, it was 6th, 7th, 8th.
Right. So depending on which area, because that was the thing I was thinking about when
Yeah.
whenever I was migrating in Washington, because I moved here right before high school started, and I moved each year.
Mhm.
So in one school it was 6th, 7th, 8th grade. In one school it was 7th, 8th grade,
Mm-hmm.
and I was doing terribly in both of those either way. But both socially.
Dylan flunked both grades.
Both socially and academically, I was doing very poorly. But the thing is, whenever you're going to, Washington, Seattle City schools, and then you move to small rural Kentucky, suddenly you're very smart because you realize how. I think 8th grade was the hardest grade I ever had, and 9th through 12th never got close to Washington 8th. And I promise you, I'm not exaggerating that. I was like, I don't understand classes here. Why does this feel like I get everything? And I have a disproportionate ego of my intelligence. in a
I very
sense.
deliberately moved to a different high school to finish up high school because I got better grades easier there.
Mhm.
And it was just like I knew on paper it wouldn't matter which one I came
That's
from
true.
if I had all A's. And
Right.
I could
That's all
easily
that
get all
matters.
A's at the easier school. So
Yeah.
there's, qualitative differences are tremendous. Even here, even though, yeah, I agree. It's probably the case that here things are
Oh, the
way
academics
down
were
the toilet.
way
Guys,
further.
we're getting off the movie.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, we are-
So,
we're very
right.
far
So
off
now
topic.
that'll be part of the question later on with it. But
Sure.
I guess kind of going back to the movie, the other part that I kind of want to stick into is I guess some of just like for me some of the funny parts I caught on the second watch. The mom's interest in Kayla's dad.
Yes.
Like, I didn't catch it the first time, but the
Me
second time she's just
either.
literally like, "Oh, is your
It's
dad
like,
here?"
where's your dad? Is he already
Yeah,
gone?
And I didn't realize the entire
Damn.
time that she's just cougering after the dad because I
100%.
was like, "Oh, he is a single dad."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then she even has some dickhead dude.
Yeah,
but he's
she
like
has
a
a
dick.
dad.
But she's like he's
The
a
other
dickhead
girl.
though. Yeah,
the
Kenzie.
the popular girl.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I don't know. Whatever. I'm gonna call her Kenzie because that sounds like a bitchy girl name nowadays. But
Yes.
so like,
She
it was,
probably got a pony at that birthday party.
yeah. She's probably got friends
And she
named
was
Maddie
just
in
on
there.
her phone.
Yeah.
She just took a picture of it, posted it on Instagram,
Yeah.
God,
continued to ignore it.
That girl sucks. But
She's
that
supposed to.
she's supposed to
Yeah.
suck. Yeah. You know what? So aside from like that catch on that one, I think the other part that kind of lands for me in the comedy aspect of it, because this this movie's supposed to have its levity moments. That the dad comes in whenever she's I think looking at like the kissy video or something like that, and she just throws her phone,
pitches it,
fucking launches that
yeets
thing,
it across. The
and
room.
I'm like, all right, Nathan, you can't. As somebody who wasn't enjoying this movie, you had to at least have like maybe a giggle moment out of that, or at least just in retelling, being like, huh, all right.
With his arms crossed, he says no.
No.
It was like that.
Feel the Valentine's Day spirit.
I don't
Nathan.
know. Like I don't.
Nathan's never thrown a controller.
Me.
I will. I have thrown controllers, but I have been like onto a counter.
We've had a very controlled rage. You see.
That I don't know. I mean, I just thought that was a silly reason for her to break her phone. Was the only thought I had.
Yeah.
The funniest parts of the movie were Gabe. He was a top tier character.
Gabe was clutch.
As soon as he was in the pool,
Because
I liked
perfect.
him. I liked his character.
Kelly was watching that, like, she was watching it in passing because she was about to go to sleep or something, and the part where he comes out of, like, with his goggles on and starts talking to her, she goes, "That's Mason." I was like, I see it.
So not Ethan, it's me.
I'm glad
she's not familiar with it.
Yeah,
That's true.
Yeah, she doesn't know.
I'm glad that it's Mason. It's definitely not me, who definitely wore goggles all the time in a shallow pool because I can't swim, and that which means I've always had poor pool culture,
And
so I
again,
never. Had
that's
to...
another thing that they do in this movie where, like, they introduce his character and he's like, "Watch me do a handstand," and then for 30 seconds he tries doing a handstand, then he comes back up and is like, "Watch me do another handstand," and then it's another 30 seconds. I'm like, I get the point of this character. Please move on. And they're like, let's have a water holding.
Well, my issue though is they
holding
introduced
contest.
him, sure, but then you didn't see him for an
Yeah,
hour and
but
10 minutes.
But then there was a breath of fresh air when, after she meets the douchey guy who tries to assault her, she goes and hangs out with him. Because she's like, oh yeah, this guy was nice to me and he hit me up on Instagram.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something there. And then they had that cute little conversation.
I loved it. He
about
said,
Rick and Morty.
"I'm Gabe. I'm the guy from the pool." As if like, it's just such a dumb thing to say.
Go back sometime and look at your messages from when you're in 8th grade.
Oh, sure.
Mine are
Wouldn't know how to even find
horrendous.
I think I would have deleted it.
Facebook Messenger, you can go back and look at those.
Bro, mine
are terrible.
Mine from freshman year of college that randomly creep up on Facebook. I'm like, fucking kill yourself.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Mine is awful.
Nathan, perfect the entire time, consistently.
Well, like, the thing is, there is no record.
Yeah, I know, because you're off the grid.
I deleted everything.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can get Kelly to message me that one message she found of mine from back in the day.
Anyways, let's transition the movie a little bit into what comes next. Is it question or fat? Then I don't remember. Okay,
if you got one.
No, I got a question.
Cool.
So, peak cringe for you in middle school.
Ooh.
It's not even about the movie. We're just, if it's gonna be cringe in middle school, why not? Let's just go.
So you're saying name a moment?
Yeah, name one for you. What was a peak cringe moment? And
Does it have to be middle school?
It could be. You know what? We'll
preferably
allow high school.
Preferably middle school, but can
Yeah.
be other. Okay.
Yeah.
I have to think about that for a
Like
second.
I mean, it's not a moment, but the easiest thing for me to recollect is that
The hair.
I didn't get to dress myself in middle school.
Huh.
My mom put out clothes for us and like fixed our hair every morning,
Huh.
and we had no say over it.
I gotcha.
So not much of a surprise that I like went full on kid in high school.
Full diversion plan afterwards with that.
Does this have to be a cringe?
And I'm talking like turtlenecks and stuff.
Ooh,
That's what we had to wear.
you're ready for pictures.
You
every
still got
day.
some of
Hell
those? I
yeah.
need some.
So,
Anyway.
so again, does this need to be a cringe that other people noticed, or a cringe that
Just
only
yourself.
Just you. Just
Okay.
you. Just you. Although I'll admit, my memory is definitely one that somebody noticed.
I think the worst thing for me, I mean, the whole thing was just rough. I can't pinpoint one, but I was in band, much like a scene in this movie.
Really?
Yeah, I was in band for 7th and 8th grade.
That surprises me.
And band wasn't so much of a passion as to why I signed
Clearly.
up for it. It was more of like there's instruments, and like I don't really know. And at 6th grade, you don't know what you want to do, so I just signed up for it. That was, honest to God, one of the worst things ever. And I did it for 2 years, and it wasn't the people that were bad or the director that was bad. It was just I never fell into that group, and I was just withstanding it for 2 years.
Why did you do it then?
I mean, what the hell else? I mean, they don't have choir. They didn't have choir where I was.
Yeah, you
I
gotta
guess
think
that's
about
true.
what's accessible, right?
Like maybe I could have.
I did like CAD or something.
I did AutoCAD in 7th and 8th grade. I
Yeah.
did like little little wooden car with a rocket on the back or whatever.
And sports in middle school only last like a month or two. Like they're not as intense as high school.
No, and we didn't even play. Like that's the thing.
Oh, you guys just did
In
for-
7th and 8th
rehearsals.
grade, you don't do hardly anything besides maybe the Bowling Green Parade,
Mhm.
and you do like concerts at the. I'm assuming it's the high school, and there wasn't even many of those. Like that's what I'm saying. It was just a very little thing that didn't even amount to much. High school's way different.
Yeah.
Only thing I can think of like that was really cringe for me was when I moved from 6th grade from my whole class at my previous school. My whole 6th grade class was like 15 people,
Yeah.
and then I moved to the big city of Glasgow
Las
to
Vegas.
go
Yeah.
to where there's like 100 kids per grade or whatever.
Yeah.
Like at that point, I still wanted to be cool, and I didn't know what I was walking into. So at the end of every day, I had a log that I kept it maybe like a month or two, but that was it. I logged what I wore that day,
Hell yeah.
so that I would make sure not to wear that same outfit again, either that week or the next week.
Okay.
And I did that for like just a month or two, and then finally stopped. But yeah, that's I finally did stop. Thank God.
I think I did something similar to that. Not a log, but I was like, all right, I wore the orange shirt on Tuesday last week. I cannot wear it until at least like the next Thursday.
You wouldn't believe this, but I couldn't remember what I wore.
So you had to log it down.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That does sound like you.
So, somewhat related, but elementary school. Every Friday, I would wear a Pokemon shirt
Hell
because I went to the hobby shop there in town to play Pokemon cards every single Friday.
I'm so jealous. What a fucking.
That sounds
guy.
awesome.
Yeah.
So my grandpa took me there every Friday, and I would just hang out there with like teenagers and stuff,
Yeah.
trying to get them to play Pokemon.
Uh-huh.
All right, Dylan.
I was such a nerd.
All right,
That's
Dylan.
what's
Crush us all.
Mine's not gonna have an exceptionally cringe moment. This is just one that like, in telling is probably not as cringe, but in my soul, it hits.
It hurts.
It
It
hurts.
hurts a lot.
So there was, I remember thinking, I still remember her name, Ashley Gillespie at the time. So if you're watching this, you're
We're gonna get a new
you're
follower.
not. Yeah, you know, if she follows, I'll tell Hannah, sorry, it's meant to be. But so she was like, you know, in middle school, kind of my read on her was that she was like one of the quieter, popular girls, one of the girls who was like floating on the popular crowd, but still like, you know, relatively kind of kept to herself. So maybe that's where I found my relatability with her. And there was a presentation that I had to do in like history class, but it was happening right after lunch. So I went to the class like, I don't know, like before lunch ended. So like, I don't know, lunch maybe at like 10 or 15 minutes. I went into the classroom. I was just like, I'll just fucking start prepping it. And she was chilling there by herself, which in hindsight now I'm just like, huh, that's kind of telling. But I remember I had this huge crush on her, and I was like, oh, well, hey. And then she's like, well, hey. And then I was like, okay. So I was like setting up the projector, and it wouldn't come down because, you know, the projectors are like the wheel.
Yeah, those
ones,
things
right?
suck.
Those things suck, and it wouldn't come down. And I kept pulling on it, and the whole fucking thing falls. It falls on me. Bounces off my head. Falls onto the preacher stand next to it. Makes the hugest fucking scene in like this room. And it's just me and her. I get hit by this thing. I'm like, I feel like I'm gonna bleed, but I'm not. I'm just that rocked. Because those things are heavy, dude.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You probably tasted some metal.
I did,
in that.
dude. I
Yeah.
did. I was like, you know,
Yeah,
like, I'm seeing stars. I look over at her. She is not laughing, not nothing. She's like blank looking at me, and I looked at her, I looked at this, and I ran out of the room. I was like, mind you, I have to go present in this classroom again here in
Yeah.
about 5 to 10 minutes.
You have to go collect yourself.
Dude, yes, I just ran out in front of her, and just pure embarrassment. I go to the bathroom. I have what presumably is a panic attack, from what I recall. I wait until like the bell rings, everybody's going in. I'm just funneling on in, and the teacher is like, "What happened to the projector?" And he looks
Don't
at me.
talk about it!
Yeah, right. Like legitimately, he's like, "My projector." I'm like, "I don't know. It wasn't me. I've got to present. Fix it." Like, fucking horrific, dude. Oh my god.
All right, I do have one now that I can think of.
Okay,
But
okay.
This was in college.
Okay, that's
Oh
even
my,
better.
that was like yesterday.
That was- Yeah, last
no,
week,
I
right.
was like a sophomore in college.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So for Valentine's Day, which it is now,
Happy
so
Valentine's
it makes
Day,
sense.
everyone.
My girlfriend at the time, I thought it'd be a good idea. Her favorite movie was 300 for some reason.
Oh
That's a
my
strange
God.
movie.
And my mom's
Yeah.
the principal of a high school,
Uh-huh.
so I was like, all right, I'll get a projector from the high school and like throw the movie up, and we'll watch that movie. So I asked mom, like, can I just get a projector and like show a movie to this girl? And she was like, yeah, that's cool, whatever. So she brings us to the high school because she like had to unlock it and stuff, and she did work in her office while we were going to go watch the movie. So I set up the whole room. I had like the projector going with the movie on it, like quilt there with candles and everything.
Damn.
And I go down there to take her to it, and I had shut the door behind it. Like, I had shut the door prior. So I tried to open it with her there, and it was locked. It's like, oh my God. So at the age of like 20-something, I had to go down to my mom's office at the high school and be like, hey, Mom, the door is locked. Can you open it? And she went down there and opened it and actually laughed when she saw it, and then went back to her office.
Can I point out,
God,
in typical critical of your actions, Price, you could have asked your mom for the key.
Yeah.
But what you did was
You brought her to the crime scene.
Yeah.
And then she laughed. You know what, Kelly Bell Sr., I know you are watching this. Let us know in the comments if you remember this moment, because that's going to really bring my moments up. Let's get back to the movie talk, though.
Yeah.
Fat, thin, perfectly fit. We know it. We love it. Mason.
It's fat.
Yeah, this movie's definitely a little bit more of a lingerer. I don't think it's terribly fat, though. I think it helped with the cringiness. I have a list that I will go over in my phone of how many times it was cringy.
Okay.
But I do think that it was pretty well deserved. It was only like an hour 30 minutes. I'm pretty sure it was like an hour 30.
It's an hour. It's under an hour. It's like right at 129 or something.
Yeah, it was very close to an hour and a half, which it's hard.
It's a hard one.
Yeah. But anyways, I think it was just a little bit chubby. Definitely could have been trimmed up. Maybe all those vlogs. I was with you, Price. Those things, especially the first one. But I do think it sets the tone, and unfortunately, it does not get off of that tone very often.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is, and a bit of a spoiler, I was not a big fan of this movie, so to say, like, how much...
I knew that one ahead of time.
How much would need to be chopped out? I don't know, because I think...
It's like the movie is
I
old.
would almost, like, recompose it or something.
Could you actually recompose this movie to a movie that you would halfway enjoy, though?
Yeah, is there a gun?
Using available footage? No.
Okay.
Well, say then.
Then that's like the whole movie.
Well, that's why I was like, I don't really know how much I can speak to this in particular, because it didn't relate to me. I don't know. Like, there's a couple of scenes that are like kind of funny, mostly just Gabe. Like, that was
MVP Gabe.
Yeah, Gabe is a MVP.
Gabe is a person that I experienced growing up, so I related to that.
You need a Gabe.
Yeah.
You do. You need one.
Gabe's well,
we have one.
We do.
He's right over there.
Yeah. Can we get some goggles on him?
He's like, you want to see who can hold their breath the longest?
Oh yeah.
Then he comes up. He's like,
I'm a scuba diver.
Yeah.
Of course, I've cut full.
I heard it after I said it. This movie's fit. You guys are fucking insane. It's not even an hour and a half, and it's even if you're sitting there and saying, all right, well, I cut this scene and this, like, narratively, I'm like, no, like, they all do what the job's trying to do, and I don't think that there's, and this is where I can see the arguments for it. It's the preference of, like, when is it too much? When have they done what they've tried to do and then continue to do more of it? And for me, I'm like, no, I think that it's told its story. The tone is kept with all the scenes, so no, I think it's fit. You said it's fat.
Yeah, my very first comment on this movie is that it's fat. Length does not necessarily determine the shape of the movie.
No.
Like, there are general guidelines you can kind of go by. Like, if it's not biting off too much, if it's just like a slice of life kind of story, hour and a half is like a good length. But this movie does not use its time well at all. It lingers on scenes so much for the sake of cringe and for the sake of making a point, and I think it misses the mark on both of those. So, yeah, it's definitely fat in every sense of the word.
A new question for later. What's worse, lingering on cringe or lingering on feet? Looking at you, Quentin Tarantino.
Anyway. I still would say feet.
Yeah, probably.
Because if a cringe scene hits and it lingers on it,
good.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I thought this one did.
Yeah,
I did too.
It does earn a few cringy moments.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it... And sitting on it does help. Like, the opening scene was
that's
annoyingly long,
yeah.
But it really lets you know what it wants to do right out of the gate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Scores!
I'll go first.
Sure.
Okay, so a few scenes that I do want to, like, remind everyone. That band scene, when she's just with the symbols. Okay.
She's
If-
so off.
If
on
you
it,
yeah,
too.
if you remember.
You probably did find that.
I like that.
I played
I did like that
percussion.
scene. I like that long scene.
Okay,
Yeah.
so here's
I
the
did
deal.
like that
They
one.
sounded like ass.
Yeah, they
Oh,
did.
it was so
Yeah.
And that is what you
Yeah.
find at a middle school concert,
Yes, it is.
ladies and
It
gentlemen. That is what happens. So, anyways, that scene related so much, and she doesn't care about what she's doing. So that was me. Every scene that I thought was cringy, or everything that I thought that this movie did really well, how she interacts with her dad, all the vlog entries, how she holds herself in literally every single situation, being the social anxiety, every part of the Instagram activity, every scene with Aiden that she just completely
Aiden.
loses herself,
Uh-huh.
and also just that backseat scene. All of those scenes were just so rough to watch, and I think that Bo Burnham leaned in on it,
Mhm.
and I can appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give this movie an 8.5.
Ah, he snuck one by.
I genuinely think that
Get
this
outta
movie is
here.
done so well.
Wow.
Get out of
And it
here.
is scary.
A24 starts at an 8, goes up from there.
You know what? Mason knows. They know the way.
Oh
No,
my
if
God.
this movie, if you want to talk about
You
someone who
little
related
sneaker.
in middle school, that's
Play
all
me
I
down.
was
Yes, he
trying
has.
to
For
do.
seasons.
I was trying to flirt with girls, but I didn't know how.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to because you're in between that stage of you're not going to the mall by yourself in 5th grade.
No.
You're going to the mall by yourself
Well, I
in
did, actually,
junior
but-
year, but it's that weird in between time. No, I did.
Actually,
And that
We didn't
third
have
floor-
them all.
we went to Targets
In
and stole
Glasgow?
things in 6th grade, actually, but that's because we were poor and we got kicked out a lot of those.
This movie just hits. I don't want to say it's so close to home, but
Mm.
dang it!
It's knocking next door, at
It
least.
is. It's next
Were
door
you that
neighbor.
kid in the back seat, Mason?
No. If any, that's the thing. I think I was more of her in this movie than I was of any
Yeah.
guy character,
Uh-huh.
and I think that Bo Burnham did a really good job here. You could sit there and argue that this movie got too much attention, or was I don't know, maybe too award savvy. Not savvy, but just was mentioned and nominated for too much. But I think that this movie did it really well.
Yeah, stop it. We're going to get
So
sued by
8.5.
the UK. God rest the Queen.
Brexit.
Yeah. Mason. Nathan.
Tank my score, Daddy.
Yeah.
Well, let me bring this down. He's bringing it down like the projector screen on my head.
Personal opinion.
Absolutely.
Sure,
Rating. Absolutely.
Sure,
Yeah, yeah,
totally.
yeah.
That's what all.
100%.
That's what all.
That's
these
all it
are.
is. All it is.
It's like, I get that this movie is for someone and that it resonates with people. It just did not for me, and that's, to me, that is what this movie was meant to do, was to resonate with people. So if it doesn't resonate with you, then there's
tough.
not a lot of I don't blame it for that.
Yeah.
I think it probably could be obviously it's a good movie.
It's tough to
just not for
watch.
me.
Yes.
Mason
But it's a good
thinks it's a
movie.
good movie. That's a qualifier.
Yeah.
It's a good movie, Mason.
So, personally, I'm probably gonna land at a 3 with
Okay.
it, because
That sounds
it's just, I don't know, it had a couple of moments, but I won't ever watch this again.
That's the score I was gonna go with, was a 3, but after talking with you all, it's this one.
gonna go
This
to 0.
time it's going down.
Oh, shut up. Even for you.
Really,
It's a 1.25 from me.
I'm
boys.
going to start asking for his other 3s or whatever scores he gives to see if it's relative.
We've been doing it.
I know.
Yeah, no, my critiques have gotten harsher since we've gotten on. Definitely, because
Okay,
I gave
yeah.
Excalibur a 2.
Yeah.
And what are you giving this?
Yeah, a 2.5.
Oh,
Okay.
Definitely.
This
Again, it just wastes my time. Even though it's only an hour and a half, there are so many times that this movie wastes my time. And I hate that. I hate that so much when I feel like I'm watching something and not gaining anything from it. Because again, I have to reiterate the fact that when I'm watching a movie, I am watching the movie. I'm not playing on my phone. I'm not playing on my Switch.
I was glued.
I'm not doing anything.
I don't.
But
He puts it on YouTube, but he puts me in there.
I'm not putting it on anybody. I'm just saying that when I am watching something, my whole attention's on it. And when I'm watching that first scene and feeling my mind wander because I get the point and it just keeps hammering it into me, and it's not a nuanced point, I get bored. When it just keeps showing these cringy scenes and just lasts on forever. And because like Nathan said, if you don't relate to it, it's hard to get that cringe. The educational part of this movie I do appreciate, with the generational gaps that are there. thinking about how they are experiencing middle school now. I thought that was very educational. I really enjoyed that. The fact that, like, watching her go outside when it was a sunny day to go get her profile pic, I like that because I didn't realize kids did that, but it makes all the sense in the world that, like, what they do what they really care about is their image on social media.
Yep.
And this very much pushes that factor because she's on Instagram all the time. She's on Facebook. And that scene where she was at the dinner table we were talking about, let's talk about the dinner table scene.
There is a dinner table scene.
Was when she was on her phone with her headphones in at the dinner table. I understand that it was Friday and she's allowed to do that, but the fact that she's even allowed to do that, period, I cannot understand. It's Friday, it's party day, I guess.
Well, when you're a dad raising one girl,
and I was gonna say, I give the dad more credit for being a bit more pushy and like into her life because it seems like they had a bad situation with the mom,
right?
Yeah.
And so he's trying to latch onto her and like make sure she's cared for, and she's obviously an outcast, and he knows, and she knows that. Which one of the best scenes we didn't talk about,
the campfire scene,
was the campfire scene where they
really
finally have that come to Jesus moment, and she's like, she finally has this moment with Claire. She's like, I'm going to stop being a teenager for just a second and just talk to my dad and be like, I'm sorry that you're having to go through this. It's a lot. That was probably my favorite scene of the movie. That or the band scene. Yeah. But again, the band scene still lasted too long. So many scenes that lasted too long. 2.5 from me. Let's round it out to a good middle score from Dylan.
You can't even get to a 3 with the little rat tail from the band guy.
I can't because I started at a 3. Kelly asked me at the end of this. She's like, "What score do you think I'll give this?" It was a 3. And after getting into this more critically, 2.5 is more where I feel.
One thing before Dylan talks, like that question that she asks him at that campfire is like, "Do I make you sad?" was like one of the most jarring things of this whole movie, and I was like, I was sad because of it for a minute.
Yeah,
but I don't know. They did do that scene really well. Kind of sorry that we skipped over it.
Yeah, it's definitely the scene that's probably worth talking more the most, but.
And we didn't talk about the backseat scene a lot either.
I don't want to talk
we don't want
to.
We don't want to. I'm not trying to relive my times.
Would it be crazy if I took my shirt off right now?
How crazy.
And then he does.
Laughing. Oh, God.
And then it's off for a while. And then listen, I'm not trying to relive any of my memories. So, Mason, you son of a bitch, you're right. It's 8.5. I knew I was in the 8s, and then the more I think about it, and it's not just doubling down for the negativity. For me, it is it hits for me, and it's the
two sides of the spectrum.
Really, but you know what? But I knew this was gonna be one of those movies, though. Yeah. That's the gift and the curse of this movie. I like the only other polarizing movie in more recent times that I know that has done this was like Dunkirk or something. People either
don't make me watch that movie,
which is really funny because I really enjoyed it in my IMAX experience, but plenty of other people, nobody's in the middle.
Only movie I've actually walked out of a movie theater,
which is insane,
was Dunkirk.
So
because my ears were bleeding and I couldn't understand what they were saying.
That's probably valid, but so. It's a polarizing movie, and that in its own right is going to sit there and say that you're going to have your high highs and your low lows and not much in the middle. Shut up. But yeah, this is a movie that I relate with a good deal. An uncomfortable amount at times with it. And characters in ways that I wish I didn't. But, then we go back into the aspect of not only is it relatable to the childhood's version of myself, it's relatable to me in a way where it's like, now as you're older, not only do you project yourself into Kayla as a character, you find what other characters you can project into. Mason's Gabe, for instance,
that's good.
I
know he's like the best character in the movie. Olivia.
He is.
Well, I don't know. Olivia is pretty fucking clutch too.
That is
Olivia's solid.
Yeah,
you know what's weird? Whenever I rewatched it, I thought Olivia turned on her.
I did too. I thought the same thing. I was like, why does I remember thinking she gets shitty?
Ghosted her or something. Bad happened.
No, she's fucking.
She was cool.
All the way.
Yeah,
she's awesome.
Couldn't believe that.
And this rewatch, I'm not a father, but boy, do I relate into if I was the dad, I'm like, no, I'd be doing all the same shit. I'd be the fucking weirdo at the mall. 100%. I'd just be like, here's a 20. I'm sorry, I suck. And it's the tiny little things, right? Like him being fully shirtless and only just in boxers going to bed, and I'm like, that's how I sleep. That is how I would do that.
Yeah, so I think that's more common than anything.
Yeah, I think on rewatch movies, I have to sit there and say, does this hold up? And am I finding new stuff to enjoy about it? And I did. I found more stuff to enjoy on it. So it puts it. Again, when it resonates and hits that well, I was like, it's definitely my 8.5 category. And I think it's just stayed in 8.5. It didn't drop. It didn't drastically rise higher because it's not so impressive that I pushed into my 9+, because again, those were special numbers for me. But God, do I really enjoy this movie. And for all the ways it doesn't even want to be enjoyed at times. But if you ever love a porcupine, they're really cute and you hug it and you get hurt, but you just, fuck it, I want it anyway. Ouch, daddy, fuck. Quote Jackson Bell. But let's see what the reviews thought of this one. IMDb gave an average score of 7.4.
So...
which is interesting, though, because we go to Rotten Tomatoes with a 99% tomato.
Whoa! Wait, how many reviews is that?
324.
That's still a lot.
324, which is like, that's a lot of critic reviews.
That's maybe like one of the highest ones we've ever seen.
It's actually an insanely ratedly high score with an 82% on audience, which is still a lot better than what I thought it was.
That tomato meter is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I disagree. I'm just saying, like, I don't know if I've seen that.
There's some of that A24 in there, too, though. They do have, like, that.
Yeah, they can just pop off on those ones. But
I've seen those high numbers with low reviews.
Right.
But that one has
324. No, I literally, I pulled it up and my eyes popped off.
Yeah.
So you probably clip. Nathan won't clip it, but, I know what that feeling is. But without further ado, no, we've got to, it is this way, right?
Yeah, no, you got to do it the other way.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's got to go.
Just please. Oh. Okay.
Yeah, it's got to spin this way.
I was taking one for the team.
Does it unscrews the screws when you screw it from that side?
Ah.
Big spinner.
I knew it.
What's that?
What?
Retro! No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
Oh Brother,
okay,
where art thou?
All right. I'm down.
Yeah.
Huh?
I've never watched it.
You've never
No
watched
way.
it? Wow!
I am excited for you.
How
then.
could you? Well, you must have not had TV when you were off the grid, because this thing was on TV every other day.
Yes,
It
it
was
was.
all over.
And that
All over.
soundtrack was
Ugh,
everywhere.
everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard the music from
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
But, yeah,
I am.
Don't
I'm
worry,
sure you
it's
heard
not
that
actually George Clooney, despite all of his trivia and practicing.
one. I know.
for it.
I remember.
That's my
Yeah.
favorite trivia.
He
fact.
practiced for it and didn't get to
Yeah,
sing.
he like
Yeah.
spent money on like lessons I
For
think,
like
too.
6 months or something
Yeah.
too, and they're like, fucking sucks. Anyway, so make sure to tune in next week for Oh Brother, where art thou?
Yep.
Thank you for tuning in, guys. I appreciate you watching. Gucci.
Gucci.
God, that.
I was waiting until the end of the whole.
I know. I was
Thank you.
right. I was gonna say like we have to.
Yeah,
do
we
that.
have to do it. We had to do it.
Oh.
Nathan adamantly didn't.
Nope.
We'll edit a Gucci in for him later.
That was as bad as saying buckets in like basketball or like wet.